Hello, and welcome to the inaugural episode of Beer Barrels and Blockbusters, the podcast that will delve into different beer styles and discuss what makes them unique. I'm going to be your host, Dustin Martin, and first and foremost, I'd like to thank you for joining me on this, the maiden voyage of this little endeavor, this deep dive into the world of beer styles. It's something I've been talking about doing for a long time, and I'm very excited to finally get it off the ground. I think before we get into the show proper, I should take some time at the beginning to tell you a little bit about myself and to lay out the basic idea of the show, the premise, to give you an idea of what's in store for you, dear listener, before you decide after 10 minutes of listening to me ramble on that I'm wasting your time. Now, I'm a beersman through and through. I've got a big old beard and everything. I've been working in the alcohol industry for a number of years now in the St. Louis, Missouri area, and I've just always been drawn to beer. That's not to say that I don't like other types of alcohol as well. I love scotch and bourbon and aged rums and weird liqueurs like Fernet Branca and Chartreuse. I like a nice dry red wine on occasion, something along the lines of a Chilean Malbec, something earthy but well-rounded, dry but not too heavy, you know. I can get down with an inky Petite Syrah too. These are all great ways to catch a buzz, is what I'm saying. But there's just something about beer that really does it for me. I don't want to get too sidetracked right off the bat talking about why beer is the best. I think the process of doing the show will sufficiently express everything I love about beer, so for now, just take my word for it. And if you don't agree, then, I don't know, maybe go fuck yourself. No, I'm kidding, don't do that. I mean, not unless you really want to. Which, I guess you'd really have to want it in order to pull something like that off. Anyway, now seems like a good time to mention that this is maybe not the best podcast to listen to with your kids in the car. Okay, Dad? I don't have the self-discipline to willingly censor myself. Besides, it's a show about beer. So what makes you think your kids would want to listen to this shit anyway? Seriously, Dad, figure it out. But no, if you aren't super into beer, you know, you can still listen. Maybe I can change your mind. Maybe I can enlighten you, you uncultured Philistine. I like a challenge. Seriously though, at the very least, maybe I can convince you to try something new, get out of your comfort zone. If you've only had Bud Light or Blue Moon, and you thought they were gross or just boring and pointless, then guess what? You were right. But there's a beer out there for everyone, is what I always say. Even if it's a sweetened lambic, you know, like a Lindemans Framboise, which is akin to a Malternative, or an Alcopop if you're from the UK. If that's the beer that gets you into beer, then I'm all for it. Nobody starts out drinking double IPAs or fucking barley wines. And if someone tells you they did, then they're lying to you and they're not really your friend. So yeah, I'm a big beer guy. I've worked in the industry for years, as I said before. I am a certified Cicerone, which, depending on your opinion of that program, either means I'm an expert in all things beer and beer adjacent, or I am a pompous blowhard who thinks he knows more than you. Whichever camp you fall into there, you're probably right. But you know, that's kind of why we find ourselves here today. I like to talk about beer. I find it fascinating, the storied history of it, the blend of scientific knowledge and artistry involved in the process of making it, the joy it brings me when I drink a really fucking good one. I love it all. And I thought the best way to share my love of beer would be to go through all of the official styles of beer, one by one, and to really dive deep into every one of them, you know, to share as much knowledge as I can about them. I'm going to do my best to make things accessible for people who are not beer experts, so if and when I use excessive jargon or industry terms, I will try to remember to explain what those things mean. I want the show to be entertaining, but I also want you to be able to use it as a resource if you do decide to get serious about learning beer styles. I will be using the official style guidelines, it's the 2015 version of the Beer Judge Certification Program, the BJCP. They have in the neighborhood of 100 or so styles, whereas the Brewers Association, the BA, has upwards of 150, and they update that list every year to keep up with trending new styles, and it's just always in a state of flux. So I'm using the BJCP guidelines, which are the ones I learned anyway when I was studying for my Cicerone exam. Both organizations are tremendously useful resources for beer information and statistics, though. I would highly recommend checking them out if you're so inclined. The BJCP for style guidelines and tasting tips, and the BA for stats, sales trends, learning resources, pretty much anything else you can imagine as far as beer goes. So, I think we're about ready to get started. I will say that I am going to be choosing beer styles somewhat randomly. I'm not going to go through the guidelines in order because that would get incredibly repetitive, and it would start with some of the least interesting styles, which would be the American Lager category. So, your Bud Lights, your PBRs, your Miller's High Life. So I'm going to bounce around to keep it fresh, keep it interesting, keep it a third thing. I hope to make it through the vast majority of the styles listed. Some of them may end up getting combined into one episode. Like, for instance, there's a specialty IPA category that's just 6 or so different variations of IPAs. So, red IPA, white IPA, brown IPA, rye IPA, Belgian IPA, black IPA. I think that's all of them. But those will most likely all be one episode. And I'll have to figure out how I'm going to do pairings for them when that time comes. Oh yeah, pairings. Okay, so I'm going to do a pairing with each style, but it's not going to be a traditional beer and food pairing. I mean, I might mention food in the course of an episode, especially if we're talking about a Belgian style, but it's not going to be a regular segment. So, in addition to beer, I'm also a big movie nerd. I've been into movies as long as I can remember, so I'm going to pair beers with movies for you. It's something I've done in the past, and I think it's a lot of fun. Pairings will be a specific movie matched up with a specific brand of beer, not a style of beer. So it won't be a red IPA paired with Krzysztof Kieslowski's Three Colors Red. It will be more like Sweetwater Blue paired with Krzysztof Kieslowski's Three Colors Blue. Get it? No? Man, I knew I should have gone with The Hunt for Red October and Deep Blue Sea there. That's my fault for trying to be pretentious. Well, fuck it. We'll power through, and it will all make sense in a little while. Let's play the theme song.